Am I wrong for despising my mentally disabled sister? Story. My sister is severely autistic. She requires attention almost 24/7 and cannot be left alone. She is nonverbal and cannot take care of herself at all. Despite the fact that she is only 12, she is extremely destructive and violent and destroys anything she gets her hands on. I hate her. That should be wrong to say, but it doesn't feel like it. I was only 6 years old when she was born, and since then I've never solely had my parents' attention. Even since I can remember, the world has revolved around her. I was moved out of my room into the basement at 7 because she needed to be in the room next to my parents. All of my toys as a child were destroyed by her, and my parents simply ignored me when I complained. Even when I was 14 and she destroyed a Mac my school gave me, I was in the wrong. Along with this, I am expected to take care of her and drop everything I do for her. I can never make plans with a friend because my parents expect me to be there if they need me to take care of her. Even when I do somehow get time to myself, I am required to leave if they need me. If I do not, then I am punished. A recent example of this is when I went to see the new Spider-Man movie and was grounded because I turned my phone off in the theater. It seems as if I am nothing more than a slave to them, and anything involving her simply overshadows me. This last week, I was chosen to give a speech at a school event. I was so excited, and my parents promised to be there, but they never showed up and claimed it was because of my sister. Anytime anything like this happens for me, they are too busy with her. I've held this in for so long, and it finally spilled out today. While talking about colleges with my father, he joked that I should get a degree that pays well so that when they're gone, I can take care of my sister. I don't know why, but this caused me to break down. I cried and screamed about how it was always about her. I'm nothing more than a caretaker to them, that they always make it about her, and that I'm expected to be her slave for the rest of my life. I've locked myself in my room since then, and my parents have not come to check on me. Am I the a-hole here? Response 1. Not the a-hole. These are perfectly legitimate and understandable feelings. You have done nothing to sign up for taking care of another human being. It's not like she's your kid, and that was wrong of your dad to joke about it because it sounds like he probably is really thinking along those lines. Be honest with your parents about how you feel. Make clear that it's insane that you're expected to be a full-time babysitter, grounded for no phone in a theater. That's BS. Reply 1. I am so worried OP will one day take on this huge responsibility in their later years because they feel they are obligated to. Reply 2. Yes, I am quite sure the dad is thinking along those lines. OP, my advice is to get your education and move out of that house ASAP and never allow yourself to be sucked back in. Once you are financially independent, you can make absolutely clear that you are not going to be responsible for your sister's care. Period. You are under no obligation to make your adult life about taking care of your sister. Your parents should be making some plans on how your sister will be taken care of after they are gone, independent from you. The sooner you make this clear to them, the less guilty you may feel for not taking on this responsibility. After all, they will have had plenty of time to make arrangements. And I only say financially independent because I'm afraid that if the OP took such a firm stand now, her parents wouldn't help her financially with her education if they are able. Reply 3. Yeah, blowing up about it sucks, but these things happen and there's no reason for OP to feel bad about it, despite what OP may have built up in his head about it. Growing up, my dad was away a lot, and my brother had severe ADHD, and so my mom was pretty preoccupied with him a lot. That was frustrating as hell. And OP's situation sounds 1,000 times more frustrating, and I feel like it's his right to be annoyed and to vow to strike out on his own. Reply 4. Yeah, my cousin had a blow-up with his mom because his older brother, E, has ADHD and is very emotionally needy. He has not special needs in any way, but he has always been very selfish and needed to be the center of attention. My aunt neglected her youngest child and openly preferred and gave all of the attention to the oldest. Her grandmother was the same. She actually left a ton of money to my oldest cousin when he was a kid and left my youngest cousin nothing. Luckily, my younger cousin has always been responsible and brilliant to boot. He is an amazing person and made his own way despite his parents. He is one of my favorite people in the world, but he moved far, far away. When his mom was whining about it, he confronted her and told her why. To her credit, she did feel really bad. I think she actually prefers him now that they are in their 30s because he is independent and responsible. My point is, this crap happens in families even when there isn't a severe special need. But special needs make it way worse. I can't imagine having a parent try to place responsibility on me to care for a sibling. I would absolutely reject it openly and clearly. Response 2. Not the a-hole. Kid, I hope you go to college far away from home. Later in life, make sure your parents understand that you won't be taking responsibility, so they better have care and funding in place. Reply 1. And by later in life, he means after you secure your financial independence from them. Getting uppity like that while you're reliant on them for food and a roof over your head is a very, very bad idea. It's only when there's nothing they can do to you in retaliation that you should take the necessary steps. Reply 2. Not the a-hole. I am a sibling of a person with a disability. My brother was not supposed to do much due to his disability. We have been fortunate that in his 30s, he is able to care for his own needs with support from the local regional group. I am also a special education teacher. I've worked in Mod Severe with plenty of students who are nonverbal with low cognitive ability. Doesn't matter the disability. If they cannot communicate their needs or take care of themselves independently in some regard, then they need support 24/7. I had the same frustrations as you. I resorted to cutting, withholding food, and making the worst self-mixtape in my head about how I deserved to be second best. I felt like a slave like you, and eventually, I let it go because I love my brother, and it is not his fault that he is that way, and that my parents can't hang. My dad left for years at a time, so I was the second parent. I forgave him too. I was trained from the time I was 10 to care for my brother. He's about 8 years younger. Our parents have died in the past 2 years, and I am in charge. The key secret I can tell you about how I am a relatively sane and successful adult is to make a plan now. I made a plan about how I wanted my life to look starting in 8th grade, and I followed through. I took the SATs, got grants and scholarships, went to school far away, and had jobs on and off campus. It was the Clinton era, so they gave money if you have a single family income. Get a loan, research and do it. Follow through and stay on track because you are in charge of you. Response 3. Not the a-hole. 1. If you can, go to college far away. Time away and on your own to be just you will be good for you. 2. Because I think your dad was only half joking, at some point you will want to have a conversation that they need to plan for the care of your sister in the future, and make it clear that it is not you, especially if you feel the same way as you do now. 3. I'm really sorry your parents didn't handle this better, and I hope that one day your anger moves away from your sister. Reply 1. Yeah, my mom is currently trying to guilt trip me into taking care of my severely depressed sister. Physically able, just a failure to launch situation. It's a massive issue because I'm my mom's estate executor as well, so I know how all of the estate planning is being set up. It irks me that my sisters, who by their own faults and lack of work ethic, deserve more. But I've made it very clear to them and mom that I refuse to be their Adam, and I'm not bothered by them living on the streets. There's a reason my family calls me the Ice Queen. Reply 2. I'm in a similar situation. My mom keeps telling me that when she passes, I have to take care of my now 37-year-old failure to launch brother. She's made me executor of her will, and I'm supposed to be in charge of my brother's trust. She set it up so that he had to ask me whenever he wanted money. Hell no. I'm willing to give up a significant portion of my share to a lawyer/executor, not to have to listen to my brother scream at me for not agreeing to fund his robotics company's acting career, desire to travel the world, or whatever nonsense it is that day for the rest of my life. Reply 3. I agree with all of this, with the exception of the timing of 2. OP needs to do this when he or she is an adult away at college. It is very likely that OP's parents will not accept their minor teenager setting a boundary with them. Hell, it'll be a bone of contention whenever it's done. I wouldn't add that into the mix right now. Not the a-hole. Reply 4. It may be that OP's parents haven't really thought about how all of their attention is focused on the younger sister because they haven't had time. Maybe OP going off at them will remind them that they have 2 kids, not 1 kid, and 1 backup carer. I'm not saying that this will change anything for sure, but just maybe they may realize that OP is just as affected as them by this, but it's not her job to be her sister's carer. OP is definitely not the a-hole, and it's a horrible situation. I like your advice, especially number 2. It's a conversation that needs to happen. Response 4. Not the a-hole, but this is a parent problem, not a sister problem. I am a parent of 1 autistic child and 1 neurotypical child, and I will tell you that we would never treat our NT child like his role is to take care of his sister. If she ruins his stuff, we replace it. We have also given him some separate space with a lock so that we can prevent her from getting into his stuff. Now, if he leaves it out, that's another story, but we try our best. Are there ways in which having a sister with a disability still might suck for him? Of course, we're a family, and what impacts one tends to impact us all, but we try to mitigate that and at least sympathize when we can't. We also make sure that he benefits in whatever ways we can. Like the fact that he has never had to wait in a long line at an amusement park because of her skipping the line pass. It sounds like your parents haven't done any of this, and have, in fact, made everything worse for you. That is not your sister's fault. She can't help who she is, and at only 12, she is still learning and growing, and you may still have a great relationship once you are both adults. Your parents, on the other hand, should have done better than you. The brunt of your anger belongs to them. Reply 1. We have a great parent over here. I wish you and your family the best. Having to care for an autistic child is hard, and I bet there was some struggle in learning how to care for her and your NT child and give them both the space and attention they need to grow. I find that great parents don't get told that they're doing amazing enough. So there you go. Much love. Reply 2. Agree completely. OP's parents seem to have completely pushed her aside and neglected her needs for her entire childhood. Parents have an obligation to help every one of their kids thrive, to be there for them, to create a safe place for them, to encourage their interests and hobbies, and to help them develop into people. This is even more critical in a household where one or more children have special needs. OP didn't get any of that. My kids are still quite young, but I cannot even fathom assuming that my other children will take on the lifelong burden of 24-hour care for their sibling, no matter the circumstances. Special needs, auto accident, whatever. My only hope is that they can bond and have a nice sibling relationship. My autistic kiddo likely will become an independent adult, but if it looked like he was going to need support, I'd have that arranged very far in advance, and it sure as hell wouldn't be his siblings' sole responsibility to figure it out. Gah, poor OP. Reply 3. Having lived a similar childhood as OP, this is where I now reside. There were times that right along with OP, I hated my sibling, but this wasn't their choice. They didn't ask for whatever issues they were dealing with, but the parents made the choice to make it about that child, all time, and then force the siblings to do so as well. OP, eventually time will pass, and your hatred towards your sibling may subside, fully or partially, but the actions of your parents will fester, and you'll begin to see them for what they were as parents. Reply 4. I know a family with an autistic kid, not destructive, just some social skills and stuff like that, aren't as developed as other kids his age. He talks a lot and asks an astonishing amount of questions, as well as a younger neurotypical kid. The autistic kid gets to go to theme parks with a therapy group and to zoos and other such trips, which the NT kid never gets to go on. So I found out that for the summer, they've started just sending the NT kid on holiday with various family members. A week on this farm, a week on this boat, a week in this city, a week in that city. Before he knows it, a month and a half has passed, and he has experienced more in that time than his brother has in the whole past year. This keeps them feeling like equals. One gets to go on small trips throughout the year. One gets one huge trip throughout the summer. Their relationship has improved greatly, and the parents feel a weight has been lifted off them for a while. Reply 5. Having grown up with a severely autistic younger brother, I didn't realize until recently just how deftly my parents handled us and the situation. It was always clear that Philip came first, for the sake of all of us. But at the same time, my normal brother and I had our own space, activities, and time with our parents, and weren't expected to look after Philip any more than you would a normal sibling. And they always made it clear that we would never be expected to look after him in the long run. That said, they would expect us to look in on him in his sheltered accommodation once they're gone. But then again, why wouldn't we? He's our brother. Response 5. I feel so bad for you. Your parents need to plan for your sister. She isn't your responsibility. They also need current qualified caretaking and whatever aid that they can get. A kid is supposed to be growing up. It sounds like they lean on you too much. Some are fine, but not a lot. Not the a-hole. Reply 1. This is part of the reason I'm thinking I'll be child-free forever. Like I really want a family, but there are so many things that can just go wrong. Splitting up, them being disabled, hell, even twins. I wouldn't care if it was something manageable, but a child for life just seems awful. And if I feel this way through just a hypothetical and looking into the future, putting that onto another child by force or guilt is just plain wrong and the stupidest thing ever. Definitely not the a-hole. Reply 2. If you ever want a kid, you could try mentoring/babysitting and see how it is. Just remember that each kid is different. I have 2 cousins aged 7. One is super energized and very active, like bouncing off the walls. He's a great kid, but can be a bit hard to watch. The other is calm AF. It varies a lot between people. Also, adoption is an option I'm 100% for. I can totally understand not having kids though. I mean, first off, you'd have to be financially stable and willing to sacrifice anything for them. You'd have to change diapers and hear crying 24/7. Some people think that's the hard part. I think the hardest part of being a parent would be trying to do right by them and raising them to be good, happy, independent, responsible adults. I'm probably not going to ever have kids because I'm just not responsible enough. I barely get out of bed and take care of myself. Also, I think the earth is getting overpopulated, and I'm kind of scared about that too. If I ever do want a kid, I'd probably adopt or maybe try foster care. Both still take way more responsibility than I have at the moment. Reply 3. I'm a teacher, so I know how it is. But like you said, every kid is different. I don't mind accommodating as I have before, but a lifelong child is not something I'd want. I've always felt like if the baby is physically disabled but their mind is okay, I'd be totally fine with that, because this world is fairly suited for that kind of thing, and they can eventually be on their own. But if it's a mental disability where I'd have to either put them in a home situation or care for life, I just couldn't do it. I've thought of adopting eventually, but I don't know how I feel about that yet. The high point stress moments of raising kids where you just want to drop everything is what I'd have to consider. As a teacher, I don't care because I know I won't have to deal with them for long. But with a child that isn't mine, I don't know how I feel about that yet. Response 6. Not the a-hole. I am going to tell you something that I hope you will think about, and I will gladly take any downvotes. Your sister will always come first, and you will always be expected to be the caretaker. You will need to break free of this as soon as you can. Move to another state or country after college. For as long as you will be in their house, it will be their rules, and they will continue forcing the caretaking down your throat. You are not her caretaker. They are, and they need to be solemnly responsible for her care, so you can work on your life while you are young. Life comes at you fast. You only have around 85 to 90 summers on average. I understand where you are coming from though, because whenever your sister did something bad, it got blamed on her autism as a get-out-of-trouble-free card. She can't help it. She has autism. She doesn't know what she is doing. She has autism. You need to watch your stuff so she doesn't get to it because she has autism. While it is their absolute lack of responsibility, discipline, and routine that allowed this behavior. Reply 1. At the same time though, she is autistic. In some cases, she probably doesn't know what she's doing and why she shouldn't do it because she's autistic. She probably can't help what she's doing in a lot of instances because she's autistic. Don't give autistic people free rein to be a dick because some people can learn that we don't do these things because they're not nice and then try to stop doing them. But this girl is severely autistic. It may take a lot to learn that that behavior is unacceptable and that it's not nice. So when she does things that average people wouldn't do, it's fair to say it's because she's severely autistic. And while it's definitely not to say that she shouldn't be in trouble, it is because she's autistic and won't be able to help it. Unless you understand a lot about autism or you are autistic, then I don't think the behavior or how it's dealt with should be seen in such a clear-cut, black and white view. It can be a lot more complicated. However, screw this person's parents because they're huge cunts. Reply 2. I have dealt with an autistic kid who was in the same state as the sister, who was raised as if the house was his playground, with no understanding of the word no, that physical aggression was not okay, etc. So my text was based on my own experiences and observations. Further, my grandmother is a specialist on the subject of autism and has worked with autistic and handicapped kids ranging from very light to absolutely menacing for the past 40 or so years. For example, I have a gold lighter. The kid was not allowed to play with it for obvious reasons. He grabbed it, put it in his mouth, and caused a scratch. Now personally, I don't care for the scratch, but if he swallowed it, it would have been hard to get out short of puncturing below the lighter to keep him from suffocating until paramedics arrived. The second time, he was more hesitant to grab it, but still did. I gently took it from his hand, and told him no. The third time, he looked 200 times at me and the lighter before he grabbed it. Same deal. Gently grabbed it out of his hand and said no. This is the discipline part I was talking about. This also proves, in this specific instance, the boy did understand what it is he was doing was wrong. It just took a lot longer before he reached the screw it moment. From what I have gathered, it is very important for autistic people to have a set-in-stone routine and be notified of any changes well in advance, or it might cause a huge meltdown. It is upon the parent to adapt to this and set a healthy regimen and keep to it. This is the routine. It is the responsibility of the parents to understand the needs of their children. This is my pool of information from where I wrote the comment, and for what it is worth, I am not autistic. It never is as cut and dry as I wrote in the initial post, and in this one, as each individual differs and requires tailored treatment. I hope you will reread my comment and understand the undertone in it that I am solemnly blaming the parents and not the autistic sister. Response 7. This legitimately terrifies me. I'm so worried I'll have a kid like this and it'll ruin my life. I know that probably seems offensive, but I just don't think I could cope with what you've described. Your sister is still young, and hopefully when she's older, she'll calm down, or your parents can find resources to help deal with her behavior. I'm so sorry you've had to go through that, OP. That's a really challenging childhood. I can't even imagine how strong of a person you must be for going through that. Reply 1. You are totally right to feel that way. I'm 22, and my mom and dad are 55 and 61 respectively. When you look at the whole timeline of my life and into the future, it won't be long until I will be my autistic brother's caretaker. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to go on vacations in retirement. I wanted to truly be able to retire, but my retirement will be the day I have to end up taking care of him. Many professions wouldn't be able to accommodate me in a full-time schedule where I'm a caretaker. I'll be 35 by the time I'm a full-fledged doctor. My parents will be 68 and 74 by then. I won't get much time to pay off my loans, buy a nice house to pay off, even work a lifetime's worth of a career, or get to save up a lifetime's worth of savings. I don't resent my brother, but I resent the life I will have in the future. Response 8. Not the a-hole. Your parents should understand how you feel. It should not be your total responsibility to take care of your sister, but you can chip in a bit. The part where you were grounded for turning your phone off in a movie theater really upset me. That is just courtesy. It seems like you are expected to be perfect, but are neglected from attention. Good luck, OP. Reply 1. I don't think it's OP's responsibility to chip in at all. They're still in high school and have their own future to think about right now in terms of applying to colleges, etc. They're not the parents. No one who hasn't even graduated high school yet is obliged or really even qualified to take care of someone with a disability, sister or not. Reply 2. I think OP would feel differently if their parents had fostered an actual sibling relationship. Instead, they've abused OP by neglect and simultaneously placed a truckload of pressure to be the sister's third parent for life. Normal siblings chip in a bit naturally, but OP's parents have twisted the relationship into a crap show and in the process took away the chance at an actual childhood. At this point, OP's obligation is over and the parents should have made arrangements a long time ago. Response 9. Not the a-hole. My husband has this with his sister, who is mildly autistic, mental functioning of a 12-year-old while being mid-40. His parents were very aware of the burden on him, though, and never expected him to step in to care for his sister. There are support groups for siblings of disabled people because the neglect you describe is quite common within families such as yours. It's highly stressful and demanding, even without parents who expect you to look after your sibling. Just remember that you have your own life to live. Response 10. Everyone sucks here. I know I'm in the minority here, so hear me out. First of all, let me say that I'm the father of a nonverbal autistic girl who, as of yet, cannot take care of herself. While mine is only 6 yet, we are facing the same situation your parents are. Now, first of all, your parents are a-holes because of the way they've expected you to be a caretaker for your sister. That is absolutely not fair to you. While obviously, she will require more care and attention her entire life, it is equally your parents' job to ensure you're well cared for, and that they have a plan for your sister once they're gone. And that plan is not, let the sibling care for her. Now, and here's where my opinion seems to deviate from the crowd here. You're the a-hole for blaming this situation on your sister. She was born this way, and trust me, your parents would have turned the dial from severe autism to normal if such a dial had existed. They're scared, they're dealing, or not dealing, with something they don't understand, and they are inappropriately leaning on you for help. Your sister isn't. Your parents are. Learn to understand your sister, or at least come to accept that she can't be understood. And while you will likely never be friends, or possibly even close, you may just come to forgive her for your parents' bad behavior. Reply 1. People need to read what this man just said. I don't think she is an a-hole at all, but he made some valid points about the parents. I still think it's not the a-hole, but the parents are just trying to do their best, and the autistic sister didn't ask for this. Reply 2. So I had a similar childhood as OP, just a different disability from my brother. When he turned 18, he got a little computer that gave him the ability to communicate with the outside world, and turned out he did not like me much and thought it was funny how often I got into trouble for him breaking stuff. While my experience with autistic kids is more with lighter cases than what OP seems to have with the sister or your daughter is, but I have learned to never underestimate what anyone does, no matter what doctors tell us their mental capacity is like. They said my brother basically was not capable of thinking beyond being hungry or thirsty. 18 years later, it turned out he was actually pretty smart and a major smartass on top. But overall, yes, it's the parents, not the sister. However, at 18, you could have told me that a million times, and it would not have changed how I felt as my brother was born, and my childhood was forever changed. Reply 3. You can't understand someone whose only response is violence. OP should cut off the sister and parents at the earliest opportunity because they will force the caretaker issue. You really clearly have never had to deal with a violent autistic person. They're vicious when they fight, and even worse, can be utterly unpredictable. I have multiple scars to prove it, and got to have spinal surgery because of an injury caused by an angry, nonverbal autistic person in a mental health clinic. She just lost it and started beating on me. She was twice my size, I was 14, and I couldn't get away from her. I genuinely thought I was going to die. Things that didn't bother them the day before suddenly will. And guess what? They're fully adult-sized, so they can do serious damage. You need to have several damn seats